Hello, the name is Daman Dev Sood, your host for my weekly show, My Top Tips, every Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. IST. Apologies for a couple of minutes delay this morning. There was technical glitches in streamlining on LinkedIn. So the show is live on LinkedIn also. Every week, I pick up a topic of concern to me, I believe is a topic of concern to you all also. It may be related to BCM, a risk, crisis, disasters, environment, resilience, operational resilience, organizational resilience, third party risk management, environment, or any issue which may be creating a pain for the society. I'm soon going to be touching the century of these shows, and I look forward to you all being part of my journey. Learning and sharing is forever. I'm a lifelong learner myself. Today, I'm going to be touching upon this very important topic, which is the importance of contracts in managing third party risks. So TPRM is a big topic. Within that, a small portion. To manage risks related with third parties, we need to be managing the contracts well, very well. That's what we'll talk about quickly today. To stress upon the importance of this topic, contracts or managing contracts while managing third party risks. It's a main tool for managing risks with third parties. Formally define a relationship between two organizations. So the contract defines formally a relationship between two organizations where expectations and responsibilities of both parties are mentioned clearly. If we mention the responsibilities, expectations. I say roles, responsibilities, and authorities along with expectations. Well, then we are already into managing risks well, controlling risks. We cannot eliminate. These are the basic principles of risk management. Legal and compliance aspects are mentioned in the contract. So, what do you expect from your third party? Risk allocation and liability protection contracts define who is responsible for specific risks, liabilities, and indemnities, reducing financial and operational exposure. So that's why contracts are important. SLAs and performance metrics clearly outline performance expectations, quality standards to be followed, and penalties for non-compliance to ensure accountability. This is a big gap in all organizations, otherwise also, that we say, Daman, you cannot do this. That's okay. But you don't tell me what if I still do it. So penalties need to be defined appropriately, and that happens in the contracts. What is your expectation from your third parties with respect to business continuity and disaster recovery? You will mention in the contract. So these contracts ensure third parties have plans in place to maintain operations during disruptions and align with the organization's resilience strategy. Your organization's resilience strategy. If you are talking about signing a contract, creating a contract for a or with a third party. Contract also defines conditions under which contracts can be terminated. This relationship can be terminated and outlines transition plans to mitigate risks during third party offboarding. Once again, an important area, a lot needs to be understood about this. In today's talk, I'm not going deep into offboarding of third parties. Someday we'll touch upon that in details. Contracts also specify security measures, regulatory compliance, and breach notification protocols to protect sensitive data. These grant organizations, so if you are the client, it grants you the right to conduct periodic audits and assessments to ensure ongoing third party compliance. You expect that you should audit the third party, but a third party may say, so sorry, no. And you may say, no, it's written in the contract. So this is how you're managing the risks with third parties or risks associated with third parties. We'll touch upon some specific clauses that a contract should have. So we are talking today, focusing on third-party contracts only. Some clauses that are close to risk management. The first one is indemnification clause. Contracts include clauses that protect the organization if the vendor causes harm. A limitation of liability clause clearly delineates the extent of financial responsibility for both parties. Data protection clauses ensure that vendors adhere to required security protocols to safeguard sensitive data. Termination and exit strategy or clauses or sub-clauses define the conditions under which the contract can be terminated and outlines a structured exit plan to minimize disruptions. This is risk management within risk management, I say. You have all the right to remove a third party. It's written in the contract. It's in your third party management process. You're just using it if required, when required. But it has to be a structured exit plan. Otherwise, removing a third party may become a big risk for you. Insurance requirements with respect to third parties in the contracts clearly mention what you want. So specifies the types and levels of insurance coverage the vendor must or third party must maintain to mitigate financial risks. BC and disaster recovery, as we had discussed earlier also, mandate these clauses, sub-clauses mandate that third parties have contingency plans to ensure service continuity during disruptions. Regulatory and compliance obligations ensure that vendors, third parties, adhere to relevant legal, regulatory, and industry standards. Whatever is relevant to you. Whatever you expect the third party to do, you should mention in the contract specifically, neatly, clearly, cleanly, as simple as possible. Subcontractor risk management. So this is third party. We say today the need is to look at third, fourth, fifth, and sixth parties also. So this requires vendors, third parties to disclose and take responsibility for any subcontracts that they engage into. Force majeure clause is a big one, very important one, not understood by many people, many organizations. Again, some other day we'll talk about this at length. But this clause is to protect both parties from liability if contractual obligations cannot be met due to unforeseeable events beyond their reasonable controls, such as natural disasters, war, or government actions. This in the past was also known as Act of God clause. While managing third-party risks, it is very important to write termination clauses also in your contract. So we'll quickly touch upon that as well. Termination clause outlines the conditions under which a contract can be ended by either party. It helps mitigate risks and provides legal clarity in case of disputes. There are few termination clauses, quickly touching upon those now. Types of termination, it may be termination for cause. There is a reason, for example, breach of contract or failure to perform, or termination for convenience. One party can terminate without cause, typically with notice. You'll have to give notice, and this also should be written in the contract. 1 month notice, or 2 months notice, or 3 months notice, for example. But either party can do this. Third type of termination clause is mutual termination. Both parties agree to end the contract at any point in contract life, or automatic termination when a particular condition is met or event happens. For example, the contract was for 2 years, 2 years over, so it is automatic termination. Let's look at some common elements in termination clauses. Notice period, as I had said. Required time before termination is effective. Grounds for termination. Give the reasons. Justify the termination. Cure period is important. Time allowed to rectify breaches before termination. It's a relationship that you have developed and you have been maintaining. There have been some difficulties. You're not happy with the third party due to XYZ reason. It may be performance, it may be quality, maybe other reasons, but you may like to give them a chance. So that is what cure period is. We have found some gap, some mistake, but we are allowing you to fix it. Consequences of termination needs to be written, understood. What happens post termination? For example, payments, whatever is pending from you to your third parties, and return of materials, whatever you had given to the third party to perform services, provide services to you. You may like to get those back. Survival of certain clauses, confidentiality, indemnity, dispute resolution, etc., that remain unforeseeable post termination. This needs to be understood by both parties. Quick look at some legal and business considerations. Ensure fairness and balancing right of both parties. Once again, it's a relationship. Many times we say that third party or vendor actually is a partner. If we are partners, then it has to be fair and balanced approach, whether we are continuing with the business or whether we are terminating the services or terminating the relationship. Avoid overly restrictive or ambiguous clauses that may lead to disputes. Align with applicable laws and industry regulations. A little about compliance and regulations, industry-specific compliance. GDPR may ask for data privacy, HIPAA, DORA, etc. You'll have to look into what is applicable in your country and in your industry sector specifically. Contracts must incorporate terms that mandate adherence to relevant regulatory standards. If you want them to follow, then you need to write. And the place to write is the contract. There may be some other compliances. You may like them to be certified to ISO 22301 for business ordinary management, to ISO 14001 for environment management, or to ISO 27001 for information security management. There may be many more. There are many more like this. Standards to follow or management systems in the organizations. So contracts must incorporate terms that mandate adherence to relevant regulatory standards. Monitoring contractual obligations is important. So regular audits, you will have to write in the contract that you will be conducting audits on you, on me if I'm the third party. Regular audits and performance reviews ensure that third parties continue to meet contract terms. Once written, a very well written contract, if you follow all the good practices that I mentioned, the tips that I gave, it's not the end of the story. It's a lifelong story. So continuous reviews and audits have to happen. Regular reviews help ensure that contracts remain relevant as business needs evolve. Business keeps changing. So you may have to again update your contracts. Updates may be necessary to address new regulatory requirements or operational changes. Changes may be internal or external. Some common pitfalls to look at quickly. Ambiguous terms and conditions. Vague language can lead to misunderstandings and disputes. Lack of enforcement mechanisms. Without clear penalties, I said that earlier also, or remedies, contracts may not be effective in risk mitigation. Missing performance metrics. No clear KPIs or SLAs to measure performance. So at this point in time, I would like to share that my 10th book, the latest one published last year, is my experiments with third-party risk management. It's available globally. Today, I'm completing a course development. So the course will be available tomorrow onwards. Certified third-party risk management specialist 3 days course. In that course, I go deep in all these concepts and a lot more. Today, we are just touching upon the contract portions, which is one chapter in the book, one lesson in the course. But KPIs with third parties are very important. And important in this session I'm talking about because of we want to manage risks effectively. Ignoring regulatory and compliance requirements, contracts must align with industry regulations. Whatever is required, that should be mentioned in the contract. Inadequate due diligence. So there's a chapter in the book and a lesson in the course about due diligence also. Failing to assess the third party's financial stability, reputation, or compliance history. Weak termination clauses, we discussed about that. Lacking clear exit strategies can lead to long-term liabilities. Insufficient data protection and confidentiality measures. Not specifying security obligations can lead to data breaches and compliance violations. Lack of audit rights and oversight. You want to audit, but the third party may say, sorry, we have not written this in the contract. So no provisions for periodic reviews, site visits, or audits to ensure compliance may become a risk once again. While closing today's discussions, I'm repeating, there are 3 days course called Certified Third-Party Risk Management Specialist is ready to be launched tomorrow, to be available to the world tomorrow, in which I have gone deep into all concepts with respect to TPRM, third-party risk management. Today, we discussed just the contracts portion. If you have any questions about today's talk, about TPRM, or about resilience as a whole, please feel free to write to me and I'll be happy to respond. While logging off today, this is your host, Daman Dev Sood, from my weekly show, My Top Tips, every Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. IST. All the recordings are available on my YouTube channel also. I encourage you to subscribe to that. Spread the word. Learning and sharing is forever. I'm a lifelong learner myself. No one is perfect. So keep looking forward to knowing more, seeing more, watching more, talking more. In the 100th episode coming up soon, I would like to have you all live with me in the session. See you. Bye-bye.